So I think what I really liked is the word publishing partner. So the publishers were the evil guys, yeah.
In the old days.
In the old days, maybe. And publishing partner sounds like, okay, this is nice. This is a partner on the other side.
We are nice.
Maybe talking, yeah.
You're
very nice, yeah. So I think, is this the way that there are publishing partners for browser games? There might be publishing partners for mobile games, for VR games. I don't know. Just brainstorming here. Is this their need? Do you think this is something
absolutely
that should help?
Yeah, absolutely? And I think we sort of began to frame it just right in the last segment, where if you're a developer and you have really the right idea. I mean, some of the greatest ideas for games have, in my mind, in the last decade, been done by individuals or very small teams. So a great idea does not imply scale, right? A great idea is just inherently good, and some of them are small and some of them are big. But having a really big, grand new idea made is going to be hard to do, because it would require a big budget, and that would require one of those big publishers, and they're, as we've discussed, risk averse. So if you have a good idea, a great idea that's either small or medium size, then it's one set of challenges to make it. And maybe if it's on the small end, you can sit in your closet at home and hack in your after school time or whatever it might be, and create your masterpiece. At that point, we're still in a mature market now. When I started 45 years ago, publishing was literally $200 in a Ziploc bag and a Xerox cover sheet, and I hand copied discs and put them inside, and that was enough. That was state of the art. And today, it's tempting to say, all I have to do is press publish on the App Store, and life is good. Why do I need anybody else? But that, in my mind, is a fantasy and a fallacy in the following way. That periodically almost becomes true whenever there's a completely new market segment. Like, VR for the first couple of years might have had that opportunity. The iOS App Store for the first couple of years sort of did have that opportunity if you're one of the first movers. The Switch may have a little bit of that opportunity in its very earliest period. But as a general rule, the entire industry now is either mature, or even new segments mature very quickly, almost instantly. And so to think that you can do it yourself is I think, wrong thinking. And to think that you should try to do it yourself or grow enough to do it yourself, I think, is both unnecessary and adds more risk, more peril on top of an already difficult business to break into. And so finding a publishing partner who has the bench depth to have the staff necessary on a year-round basis, not just for the surge of your one shot, to be able to give it the proper level of support, help it reach its maximum audience, help navigate platforms and languages and all the things that are necessary to really get that project in front of the people who hopefully will choose to embrace it and pay for it. I think is the right strategy for at least where we are right now. I mean, 10 years from now it may change again, but I think for right now, I think that's where all the innovation is going to come from. It would be hard for me to imagine, somebody coming up with an innovative small game. I'll pick Monument Valley or the one we were talking about, A Dark Room. Where somebody comes up with a dark room and goes to one of the traditional large AAA publishers and says, "Hey, here's my great project. Would you like to publish it?" And they're going like, even if it was wildly successful in your mind, it would be inconsequential to our bottom line. So we're utterly not interested. And yet it's these things that are very innovative, very unique, very fresh, that help set the stage. I mean, if you look at the ones I've just mentioned, there have been 5 or 6 other games that have followed in the lines of those. Other people have begun to emulate those innovations. And those are slowly becoming bigger and bigger and bigger games. But they required starting small, and they required having a publisher who was right-sized for them, a publishing partner that was right-sized for them.
And I think it's also what we should not forget. It's not the release button we talk to. Yeah, at the end of the day, it's persons behind. So you have to have a network of contacts in any sub-channel. Say, okay, if you talk to Nintendo, maybe you don't know the Nintendo guys right now. Or to Google Play, there are real persons behind that you have to talk and discuss with and see what's up next. So I think this is something you forgot if you do this one army release button show, which is totally wrong in my opinion. And I think maybe it's also what you have in mind there, because
absolutely. And you all mentioned something really important, because you need to be specialized as a publisher. You don't have to publish every single thing out there. We are not good at mobile, period. I would never say we're an awesome mobile publisher. We can do it on the side. We can do a little bit of support, probably actually call up you guys and say, hey, can you help us a little bit with that? Or some of the other friends in the industry. But you don't have to do that. Like so when you come with like a small game to an EA or something, they probably kind of ask you, well, you're crazy, what are you doing here? That's not meaningful to our bottom line at all. And it's not even only about the bottom line, it's what you can do well. I think we're pretty good at browser games, and we are getting pretty good at PC games. And that is what we specialize in. You got to find your own niche. You don't have to be the jack of all trades, if you will. So it's important that you find what you're good at, and that's where you provide support to smaller teams that are kind of in the same area and need that support.
We were just brainstorming on the drive down here yesterday, for example. I was, now that we can see the light at the end of the tunnel on Shroud of the Avatar, we're internally now just beginning to talk about, well, in addition to the additional episodes of Shroud of the Avatar, when will we choose to take on some new challenge? What do we think that new challenge might look like? And so I was polling Lars as to, which of these kind of things might also play well into our partnership. And it was a very interesting discussion, just because, part of it was, well, of the couple of things that I threw out there, you're going like, well, this one looks like it still has that clear community-driven foundation that is what you do well and is sort of the basis of our partnership. And one of them, while made Lord British historical sense, didn't fit into that precise alignment as well. And so I was going like, oh yeah, of course, for us, that would be the right one. And actually, even for me individually now, that's probably a good idea too. So I appreciate the feedback, not only for myself, but especially for fitting into our partnership. I was going like, oh, that makes sense. So knowing what your partners do well, knowing what you do well and what your partner does well, and finding those matches is important.
Yeah, that's perfect. But do we as an industry talk too less to each other?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I can say that within Germany, we should talk much more. And Travian Games is the best example of what you should not do. Not right now.
Nice, you're not bashing others.
not right now. No, I'm self-reflecting a lot these days. We have pretty much shown zero presence in the industry over the last, 10 years or so. Maybe not 10. We've been pretty active in the early days, but at least for like a stretch of 5 years or so, we haven't been talking to any other companies there. Not because we didn't want to. It's just like, it's also a matter. You mentioned people before. It depends on the actual people that you have at the company and whether they enjoy doing that, whether they're networkers or not, and so on. So I want to change that. I want to make sure that we at Travian Games talk more with other people in the industry. There's a reason we're sitting here. First of all, I like you guys, but the other thing, and I think the format is great, but I want to make sure that we contribute to that. And I appreciate that you actually try to achieve the same thing with like getting people to talk about what they do behind the scenes and be transparent about that. So I want to start like locally in Munich and connect more with the people we have there, then go regional, talk with other people in Bavaria more and more. And then, of course, like on a Germany level, do that. And of course, it doesn't stop there. It's important that you...
It starts there.
It starts there. And it's important that we look across the pond, that we look pretty much anywhere in the world where people make great games. There's a reason why I'm very excited about the partnership with Austin companies, because there's a large game development scene. And we have similar scenes here in Munich or in Hamburg or in Berlin right now, and like the Düsseldorf area or the Düsseldorf-Cologne area. So there's definitely a need for knowledge exchange, if you will, and I made it my personal mission to actually try to support that. And because of my personal interests, mainly between Germany and the United States, because I think that is something where we can all benefit from.
And I'd like to add to that too by, I know there are still some studios around that are super secretive. They believe they have knowledge, whether it's their intellectual property or the development processes that they think are so special that they should basically keep them a secret as long as they can, or forever. Really, the only visibility you get is their finished product, and I actually think that's a mistake. What I have found is that, and I'm sure you guys have seen some of this too. Good ideas are a dime a dozen. Everybody has their pet game idea they think is great. Everybody has their aspect of a game or the way they develop they think is great. And what I have found is that first of all, most ideas aren't good at all. But even if somebody came to you with a really great idea, whether it's process or IP, that is only the beginning of a very long, hard, difficult journey. And so I don't think there is anything I can tell anybody that will make them successful versus me. I don't have any trade secrets that I think would literally hurt me by sharing them with other people. What you will do by sharing them is I actually think that it not only raises the art form slowly, not much. I think as much as we're trying to be helpful to everybody who's watching, I think there's only little pieces little nuggets will make somebody make a little step up. But what it will do is that those that pick up those nuggets and do step up, one or two amongst them will now, instead of having modest success, will have a bigger success. And when they reflect on the time, it's now time to have a partner, because I've made my one piece and I'm looking for a publishing partner. There's better odds that they will know our names and come and think of us as who they ought to talk to about what's my next move. And so not only does it just, I think, raise our community of peers, which is a good thing, but it will come back. I believe in this kind of scientific karma, that just says it never, I'm a devout believer, it's never bad to give someone else credit for work. It's never bad to help a competitor or anyone else make their work product better. I think that is better for all of us.
That's exactly the philosophy we have at Travian Games, and I'm really trying to make everybody aware of the importance of that in the industry. If you support people, there's usually at some point a project where you cross paths again, and then they'll help you out. It's kind of funny you mentioned that with the idea. I couldn't agree more on an idea is worth nothing without the ability to execute on it. I sometimes get calls from people telling me, you have this great game idea, can I share that with you?
If you only sign a non-disclosure.
Exactly. But you sign an NDA. To sign an NDA. It's like, why would I? Because it's just an NDA. But the idea is so important. If I share it with you right now, you can just easily copy
You'll
it.
make millions of dollars from it.
It's like, first of all, I would not, but the idea is worth nothing. We would have to invest like a lot of money to actually make it a game. So why do you think it's so important? Well, then maybe it's not for you. So it's like, okay, fine, then call somebody else.
Good luck.
So, but it's important that we teach our peers as well that this is something that leads to nothing. And we are super open about anything that people want to know. So when I took over at Travian Games, I made sure that everybody in the company, from the intern to me as the CEO, we actually have access to the same numbers. Everybody can see everything, and that is good. So talking about financials, talking about metrics for the games and everything we have, because that means that people, if they're curious, can actually contribute to the success of a game if they see something that everybody else missed. And we've had that on many occasions that people saw something like, hey, I figured out in the game there's something we don't do really well, and I checked in our data warehouse, checked the numbers for that, and I see that something is wrong there. Shouldn't we look at it? And it's like, sure, why not? And that helps. Mm-hmm. So I truly believe that makes sense, and we're also sharing that information with other people in the industry, because why not? There's, even if I gave you a dump of our data warehouse, including everything we have in there, like all our financials and everything, would you be able to make a better game? No. I bet you would not. It would be interesting. You'd probably for like half a day you'd say, "Oh, cool. Oh, that's okay." There, they were going down. No, that's it's.
There's a good move. There's a bad move.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting, but that's it. It wouldn't increase the chance that you make a better game next time. From my point of view, even if it did, good, because then as an industry we all make better games. That's great. So I really don't think in competition too much. I really think in collaborating, as long as everybody in the industry or the people I want to collaborate with are open to that idea as well.
I think the good ones are never alone. That's why we are doing that as well. So we invite guys that are sharing the same, I would say, vision about how to communicate with the others, how to share the knowledge.
Yeah.
So are you getting contacted a lot by other developers because you're some kind of idol or industry veteran?
Well, yeah. I mean, so I get contacted a lot, but on a variety of subjects. I've been making games long enough to where people who are interested in games contact me on an almost daily basis. But for specifically with game proposals that I would call a serious proposal, about once a quarter probably is the nominal rate. Although if I ever like recently I was I'm pretty open on my public Twitter account. and I mentioned something about, kind of, hey, we're machinating on this, that, or the other thing, and suddenly I got a flood more coming in. So if I let it be known that, I'm pondering the future, then more will come up. But again, I'm also very brutally honest with people immediately too. And even in my thing, because we all see that so much, I even pre-poison the well by saying, hey, by the way, ideas are not what's important. It's execution is 99% of the battle. So
absolutely,
if you're, if you are a team that can execute, then give me a call. But if you don't already have that, that's not helpful.
So I think let's take another episode, talk about, okay, how we can get in contact, what kind of events, whatever we can show up to get in touch with each other. And I think we should talk about this moment right now is really the show. You should go there to maybe meet some guys like us here together and get in touch with, because this is a huge barrier for maybe some smaller